The results of over 120 years of strategic planning, academic diplomacy, and bulldog tenacity, South Carolina State University is dedicated to improving future prospects for graduates by providing both academic and economic benefits to all members of our community. This brief history highlights an institution adept at overcoming obstacles, finding innovative solutions to challenges, and working to transform the lives of her student constituents. The South Carolina Agricultural and Mechanics Institute was founded as a result of the First Morrill Act of 1862, named for Congressman Justin Morrill, whose vision for a system of land-grant colleges was intended to make higher education accessible to more Americans. This would enhance opportunities for a growing post-Civil War populace. Established in 1872, initially the new school was associated with Claflin College, later Claflin University, which had been founded in 1869. But sectarian Claflin, affiliated with the Methodist Episcopal Church, and the non-sectarian Agricultural and Mechanics Institute separated interests after 25 years in order to create a new school in response to the Plessy v. Ferguson Supreme Court decision, which made segregation by race a legal reality in America. The founding of South Carolina State University is in part a direct consequence of that decision. Former legislator Thomas Ezekiel Miller was the first president to preside over the Normal Industrial, Agricultural, and Mechanical College for the colored race, newly established by act of the South Carolina Legislature on March 3rd of 1896. Charleston native Dr. Robert Shaw Wilkinson had served as professor of physics and became president of the school in 1911. Noted graduates associated with the high school department from this era included biologist Ernest E. Just, later a founder of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and Benjamin E. Mays, a graduate of the State College High School, who taught at his alma mater for a year and eventually became president of Morehouse College in Atlanta and the future mentor of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. Miller F. Whitaker, the son of faculty member Johnson Whitaker, became president of the college in March of 1932. An accomplished architect and designer of a number of buildings on the campus and in the Orangeburg community, President Whitaker oversaw the establishment of a law school in 1947. A graduate of Harvard College and Harvard University Law School, Dr. Benner C. Turner initially served as dean of the law school and was appointed president by the school's trustees after the death of President Miller Whitaker in 1949. Dr. Turner facilitated the name change to South Carolina State College and supported the college's inclusion on the list of approved institutions by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. During the height of the Civil Rights era, Dr. M. Maceo Nance supervised a period of exceptional growth and expansion at South Carolina State College. He enhanced academic programs and the physical facilities. This period also witnessed the shock and pathos of the Orangeburg Massacre in February of 1968, a tragic incident precipitated when campus students demonstrated to urge the state of South Carolina to comply with the Public Accommodations Act of 1964. These demonstrations escalated into tensions with the community that resulted in the terrible loss of two South Carolina State students, Henry Smith and Samuel Hammond, and a visiting Wilkinson High student, Delano Middleton. Segregation by race had been judged illegal in 1954, and the sacrifice and diligence of South Carolina State students helped advance our state into the realities of the 20th century. Dr. Albert E. Smith began the process, which would result in South Carolina State colleges getting designation as a teaching university. Important relationships were forged with corporate supporters, and fundraising efforts at the institution were enhanced. First Lady Barbara Bush served as commencement speaker in May of 1991. Dr. Barbara R. Hatton's excellent credentials precipitated an historic appointment of the first woman to lead the newly designated South Carolina State University. Dr. Hatton had been Associate Director of the Stanford Urban Rural School Development Institute. She also received the 1993 Recognition of Outstanding Service to Education Award. South Carolina State alumnus and noted biologist Dr. Leroy Davis was appointed president in 1997, forging new partnerships and forming centers of excellence across the campus, increasing scholarship support for students and establishing the groundwork for future expansion. Dr. Andrew Hugheni, an education administration specialist and professor of mathematics, became the 9th president in 2003. During his tenure, a surge in enrollment followed close upon the televised presentation of the historic Democratic debate, which introduced candidate Barack Obama to a global audience. Alumnus, Congressman James Clyburn, facilitated this exceptional coup for the school. A succession of well-qualified administrators appointed by the Board of Trustees have contributed to sustaining South Carolina State University's institutional vision of offering the best possible access to higher educational opportunities for traditional, underserved, and non-traditional students. In a time of shifting cultural, political, and economic values, these individuals work to marshal the university's often fragile resources in the service of the people of South Carolina and the nation. Appointed by the Board of Trustees in June of 2016, President James E. Clark became the 12th Chief Executive Officer in charge of managing the resources of the university. His dynamic administrative style serves as a catalytic agent for the ongoing transformation of the institution, setting future directions through a dialectical vision and offering exciting new possibilities. For more than 120 years, South Carolina State University has been working to provide educational opportunities that offer access to intellectual and economic advancement for thousands of students from every corner of our state, from across our nation, and from around the globe. The university's history of nurturing and developing our students, preparing them for equal opportunities in employment, and the persistence to realize through hard work, perseverance, and bulldog tenacity the tangible hopes of the American dream. South Carolina State University is wholly dedicated to supporting her student constituency and our community in the transformation of individual lives, investing in the attainment of a better and brighter collective future.
Well, South Carolina State wants you. South Carolina State will embrace you. South Carolina State will provide you with an experience unlike any experience you've had or will have elsewhere. Well, I think my corporate background, I think is very applicable to the university where it is now. My primary focus coming here was to say, all right, we're in a business turnaround situation. We get our fiscal affairs in order. We elevate the brand, the image, rebuild that brand image. We would become, a university that people would aspire to attend. I grew up in northern Florida, a place called Quincy. All of my elementary school was at segregated school, Salem Elementary. All of my books were hand-me-downs. They were full of names. And I just happened to know that those names happened to be the names of white kids at the all-white school. I left elementary school and went to Carter Paramore High School in Quincy. Now, my last 2 years of high school were at what was going to be the new all-white school. This is around 1968, and the federal government said, well, maybe not so fast. And I was one of, I think, about 14 black students that went to this school. Somewhere along the way, there was a program called the 21st Century hosted by Walter Cronkite. And he used to say that at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Professor so-and-so is working on a new thing called the computer. And I remember thinking, wow, this is a pretty cool place. I'd like to go to school there because I like science and I like math. But being at this new all-white school, imagine I go into the guidance counselor and say, hi, I'd like to go to MIT. So she decided to help me with all the applications and so forth. And I got accepted. And now I tell people though, two of the smartest people I've ever known were my mother and father. They went through very, very difficult times, but they had education at the core. It used to be a time in this nation where, if you went to 6th grade, you were doing quite well. Now, a 4-year college education is a requirement. We really need to be looking at that, K through 16. So the 4 years of college, we really need to be educating all of our youth at least through 4 years. Now that takes a different change. That takes a change in the mindset, or a different perspective on the value of education. Because what we're doing now, remember, we're transforming lives here. We're taking youth right at that critical stage as they're becoming young adults. And I think we have the ability to provide an experience here that's unsurpassed.